Hello and welcome to the Dissension episode of Commander Fodder. So interesting episode, as this will be the third time I've mentioned now, but I don't know if everybody watches all of the videos in order for when I bring out the weekly videos around a certain set. But I'm going to be aggregating set musings. Sorry, set musings is going to stay. I'm going to be aggregating the deck Durdle and Commander Fodder into the Commander Durdle, and at the end of this episode I'm going to do a sort of quick preview as to what that will look like in terms of the start up of the video, so everybody's sort of clear. Anyway, so let's dive in with the current format for Commander Fodder. We're up to Dissension, as I've mentioned, so we'll have a look at the theme decks from Dissension, because that's what I'm using for my my seed for the algorithm in Architect. So there are 3 decks that came out, because you remember there's a 4-3-3 theme deck format to coincide with the 4-3-3 format for the guilds in the block. So in Dissension we had 3 decks. We had Azorius Ascent, which is white-blue, and again, well, not all of the decks, but the vast majority of the decks have copies of the bounce lands and copy of the guild homes in them. So this is the white-blue one. What does it say here? We have law on our side. So blue-white flyers, basically. With the appropriate level of support cards. Again, because we're getting to the end of the block, you would see cards in here from earlier sets in the block as well. So not just Dissension cards, but other cards as well from Ravnica City Guilds and Guild Pact. 2 rares, Spirit the Inscrutable and Wakestone Gargoyle. Keeping again with the themes of the deck, they always include one of the legendaries from the set. From the particular set. So next up we've got Rakdos Bloodsport. Before I forget, of course, the mechanic in this one, in the blue-white one, was... Now I'm trying to remember. Now I don't know if they actually played to that ability or not in here. Funnily enough, I don't think the deck really... Yeah, come to think of it, no, they weren't really trying to play around that. So interesting, this doesn't really highlight the guilds. There's one forecast card. Or maybe there, yeah. Is there just one forecast card in here? Probably. Have a quick look through, yeah. So a single forecast card. Oh, there's another one. Oh, and another one. Okay, so yeah. A few there. Okay. The Rakdos one. This one, Hellbent, if you remember, it rewards you for not having cards in your hand. So I'm assuming there's going to be things in here that obviously want you to do that, and are going to help you to leverage emptying your hand out through various mechanisms. So obviously you empty your hand by playing your spells. We've got Rakdos Signet in here. Crackling Flames. I'm just looking for anything that sort of helps. Yeah, so here. It helps you basically become hell-bent at instant speed. And then, as with the other decks, it also gives suggestions about modifying the deck with other cards from the block. You'll notice here as well we don't have a copy of the bounce land, funnily enough. I'm assuming you don't want stuff coming back into your hand. It just has the Guildhall. 2 rares. There's Older, the Blood Witch, and Nihilistic Glee. Oh yeah, that's another way of discarding cards for a benefit. Okay. And then finally is Simic Mutology. I do actually have this deck in paper. I did do an unboxing way back. This really does play to the graft ability, which is when cards come into play or creatures come into play, they come into play with a certain amount of 1/1 counters on them based on the graph. So graph 5, it's 5 counters. But when another creature comes into play, you can actually move those +1/+1 counters around onto it. So this card in particular, the idea is that it can't attack or block, but it sort of acts as a donor, if you like, for those +1/+1 counters. So you get it out early because it's a 3-drop for a 5/5, and then other stuff comes out and you can graft onto that. So we've got things like Helium Squirter, and there's ways of moving counters around as well beyond just the graft mechanic. Now this is interesting because you've got the legendary creature in here that plays to that presence of the +1/+1 counter, and you can add +1/+1 counters. So it has all activated abilities of each creature with a +1/+1 counter on it. And you can use Simic Guild Mage as well to mess around with counters. And you can also move auras around as well. So there's a lot of utility in this deck. And then we've got some... So in this particular deck, obviously Experiment Kraj would be in the library. So Protean Hulk is one way of getting hold of it. And there's interactions between that and some cards which allow you to sack a creature, and then you get a benefit off of sacking the creature as well. But you can then use that to fetch Kraj. And then there's some suggestions for stuff you can add. They're basically graft creatures. So you can see here we really are going down the graft rabbit hole. We've got the guild hall, and we've also got the appropriate on colour bounce land as well. There's a stasis cell in here, and the 2 rares are Experiment Kraj, which I've mentioned, and also Protean Hulk, which I've mentioned. So I always wanted to play around with a Kraj EDH commander deck. So firstly, here's the deck as it is. So 60 card deck, and I've mentioned most of the cards already. You've got things like Indrik Stomphowler as well, Howler in here as well, which I know is popular in Commander. But these cards all synergize really nicely with one another. And we've got cards like Flash Foliage, which are just interesting blocking cards as well. So what I've done, and Thrive, of course, puts +1/+1 counters on each of X target creatures. So if we go over to the commanderized seed, if you like, So we bumped the land up to 34, which is around about the average amount of land that seemingly seems to get played in a Kraj deck. So I always sort of start off with that 'cause it's easy that way, or easier. And obviously I've removed all the multiple copies of cards. I haven't had to remove any off-colour cards because there weren't any. Kraj is a green-blue commander, and they're all green-blue cards in here. So yeah, we're pretty much ready to go with running the algorithm. I'm not going to take anything out. Most of these are graph cards, so I could probably call this deck something like Grafty Kraj. Crone. But most of the other cards are not, I mean, they're not great, but they do have some sort of support ability where they're not graft cards. So I'm going to leave them in for the moment, and then as I get through this, if there's a must-have and I can't fit it in, then I'll get rid of something. Now, of course, the Protean Hulk won't be tutoring for Experiment Kraj because Experiment Kraj won't be in the library. But I'm going to keep it in here, and the interaction with the other cards that you can sack it to. One, because I want to see what gets suggested, and two, obviously there's some interesting other utility cards with mana cost 6 or less that I could go hunt for, so that would be cool. Now, one thing, actually, this belongs over here. So what I also did, I took the advice in here because there's some pretty cool cards, and I wanted to make sure these are included as well in the seed. So most of these are graph cards from the set. So Cytoplast Manipulator, come on in. Cytospawn Shambler. This is from Dissension, another graph card. And you can see these have got interesting utility on them as well to do with playing around with counters. Novijen Sages, another graph card. And then where would we be without a doubling season, which was in the block? So that's going in. Rather expensive, but why not? We're not having to buy these, so I don't forget those. Because you know me, I tend to forget stuff as we motor through this. So that's funny. So the estimated cost of this deck is $119.24. So I imagine most of that is in the doubling season, which is $84. Most of the other stuff are very, well, the Protean Hulk, as you saw in the Sam Musings episode, is a slightly more expensive card, and that's a $6.99 card. It'd be interesting to see what cards it pulls from all the sort of return to Ravnica stuff, because there's some pretty interesting evolve creatures as well that may or may not synergize well in this deck with all these lovely counters coming in. So we'll see how that pans out and what suggestions we get, really. So let's go to our Rex. Again, we're going to use the Architect Recommender engine rather than EDH Rec because it's a bit more. This is a bit more loosey goosey, and I like that fact. Okay. What I should have done, actually, which I normally do, is when I do this deck, I often include the... It's actually not in here, which is good. Okay, because and I did try and do it, which is to include the cards that get suggested by Architect, and that way, when it suggests them in here, you don't accidentally double up. Well, you know when you go back, but it's just an extra step. So we're going to play a Soul Ring, we're going to play a Simic Signet. I really want Kraj in play, so does this actually tap, add 1 mana of any colour to your mana pool? Ooh. Oh, of course, I keep forgetting. If I put a counter on this. So it's going to recommend probably... Well, it will do a lot of stuff that has interesting... abilities. Well, that is quite nasty. Yeah, we want that. I don't know if I want a ton of artifacts there. You may activate abilities of creatures you control as though these creatures had haste. Untap target creature. Okay, yeah, I see what's going on here. So that's good. It's recommending a load of stuff that's going to either synergize well or copy Kraj's ability. So, do I want to just... leave that at the moment. I've got 5. Maybe I want that. Maybe I do want the lightning. Crypt creatures haste and shroud. Hang on. Hexproof. No, I did. Do I want to be targeting Kraj? This is interesting as well. This is super interesting. There's so many avenues you could go down with this. Oh, this fella. Yeah, we should play to the theme, maybe. Yeah, we'll do that in a moment. There's some, crazy stuff. Experiment Kraj is an interesting sort of... I've talked about this before, where you can build like a toolkit with Kraj as your commander and start really playing around with support cards and build lots of interesting decks that go down lots of different avenues. Anyway, what else? Let's see what Planeswalker we get suggested up with. Funny. Okay. So I get three hits with this. But yeah, this would generate a crazy amount of mana. Okay, we'll do that. There's probably other utility cards here. Spells and ability potent skill card. Oh yeah, just so much stuff here. Okay. What have we got? See what it suggests on the enchantment front. So we've got a few of those in there already. I think we just keep our support cards fairly low, sort of around the 6 to 8 of each, and then we can go crazy with creatures. Get a ton of utility creatures. Okay. So these all make perfect sense to me. If we're playing around with +1 counters. When a non-token creature have the same name, draw a card. If it doesn't have the same name as another creature you control, to be playing more with a tap on this. That will be interesting on Kraj. Yeah. So let's look at some sorceries. Let's go shopping for sorceries and instants. I suspect we're going to get. You think we'll get proliferate stuff? Okay, so we're playing blue. Shift is interesting in this deck. Okay, we might as well, playing blue, might as well run a counterspell. Yeah, things are going to get crazy. I'm going to have to make sure I play stuff that doesn't make me discard my hand. I've already got, I think, one. I should really play a Thought Vessel in here. It's a copy of a target creature you control. It's interesting utility there. So much stuff I can do here. Instant speed bounce. Yeah, let's do some classic spot removal. I'm gonna get that Thought Vessel in here. The other card Oh, is it Library of Leng? I should look at the land now before I forget, because I do need to add in some utility. Right, so we want a command tower. There we go. That's what I'm after. There's a whole load of obviously fixing we could do. Let's run a Terramorphic Expanse. You know where I'm going. Cast non-land cards this turn as though they had flash. Yeah, I'm going to put that in. I could go crazy, but bit early probably to look at the mana curve. It's roughly equal at the moment. Rebalance that before I attempt to playtest this deck. Okay, so we've already got 19 creatures. So we're just going to fill out the rest of the deck with creatures and some sorceries. So let's have a quick look at some sorcery speed shenanigans, probably in green, I suspect. And it's probably going to be land, ramp and such like. The usual suspects. Let's go for the ramp. Go for tutoring. That's interesting utility in here. Yeah, I'll stop there. Okay. So, here we go. Let's see what we get on the creature side of things. I really don't know what to expect with this deck, actually. Oh, of course. Yep, so it is going to suggest a whole load of evolved stuff. And I think I did know that Horseshoe Crab's often played in the deck. Just fill this all with graph stuff. So we've got a whole load of evolve. Favourite evolve stuff. Biomancer. Yeah, this player. Oh yeah, we've got stuff that's going to echo this. Now this is we're playing blue. So this is an interesting utility card because Kraj has all activated abilities. Okay. Oh, I've got Simic Mutology. Fertilid. For each counter on target permanent. Oh, and there's Incubation Druid as well. this. Of course. Yeah. Why not? Play a Liege. So now we're getting into some interesting utility. Yeah, this meshes well. You control with plus and plus can't be blocked. Control target creature power. That's interesting. Let me just check before I start playing around with Morphling. Ah, I knew it! Right. Okay, so I'm just going to run out of stuff. Where's that one that I was a bit unsure of? Okay. I'm actually going to take that out. Boom. Okay. How are we doing? Oh, there's not much in it. Okay. Well, that worked out well. Yay. Okay. Let's play test. Right. Oh, that's a good hand. This is going to be tricky to... This is going to be really tricky to Goldfish. I'm probably going to make a right pig zero this. I do apologise up front. This is the sort of deck which... I don't really want to go on and try and build this on MTGO. You can Goldfish on MTGO, and the advantage when you do that is it obviously keeps track of all these really interesting interactions that this deck's going to have. So I'm just going to see if I can wrap my head around this. Okay, so it doesn't really matter, does it? So command tower out, Hardened Scales out. You put 1+1 creature control, that many +1/+1 counters on it. I don't think that's going to work against us. You might get some weird interaction going on with Evolve, but anyway, we'll see. Okay, so that's my turn 1. Oh, this is good. So turn 2, I definitely want to get Library of Leng out before things get silly. And I do want to get this Incubation Druid out at 1 minute. It's a +1/+1 counter on it. Okay. So I need +1/+1 counters to get that to do stuff in some interesting stuff. Okay, let's just get that out. You're not going to do that. Next turn, play out that. So we've now got 3 mana, which means, yeah, I don't know if there's anything I want to hunt down. I should have checked, shouldn't I? We'll just play out this, so we could tap this down. play out this. This is more support. This I'm not going to really swing with, so we'll just get out of the way. When does Kraj come out? 6, depending on how we're doing. Forest, boom. Huh. Okay. Right, Urban Evolution. Draw 3 cards. You may play an additional land this turn. Well, I don't have any, so don't really want to do that yet. Graft 3. I definitely do need more land. I can't adapt yet, so just need one more land. And what we got here? Graft 2. Gain control of target. Okay, that's fine. So if one or more, how many plus 1? Okay. I'm just going to put on a creature control. That many plus 1. Put on it instead. Okay. So it's just adding 1 to each. Fair enough. So this comes out as a 3/3. That's what we're basically saying. We're like, if I cast this now, I have enough mana to do that. That is now a 3/3. I think this is one of these decks where it's going to be a bit of a slow build. Slow, yeah. And then it's suddenly going to go crazy. Whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, if it doesn't have the same name as another creature, draw a card. Okay. Fair enough. So we can get that out. Can't really get anything else out. We could be swinging with this. Well, let's just keep a track on this. Okay. Boom. Oh, now we get more stuff online. Helium Squirter, target creature gets flying until end of turn. So we're goldfishing anyway, so it probably doesn't really matter. But again, it's going to get pumped by that other card. So that's now got 4 on there. If it's craft 3, gets an extra counter. Okay. Okay, so we can start to... So here's our Protean Hulk. Should I just play this out and see what's going on? I'm trying to remember here how this works. Oh yeah, it does. Does it have the... It does. This is where it plays that you should know your deck. Yeah, I want this. So what's that? Oh shit, what's that? Fortune Hulk, Green Sun Zenith. Four. So yes, I pay 4 to that, and then we get. Where's it gone? Get that out. So now we can start doubling stuff. And out. And of course I could have swung. I always have fun and games with this. I've got to get this back now. Damn it. Oh, there we go. It was in there somewhere. Okay, so yes, I've had previously swung with those 7, so one opponent's down to 30 anyway. Okay, double number, blah 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 blah, and okay, you'd have to tap it. Okay, so yeah, you can start sort of pumping all these fellas up. Can't get that out yet, so I probably would want to invest in this. So we tap that down, we got the blue and green to play that, and then this would go up what, to 8. Okay, and it's each kind of creature on target artifact creature. Okay, so I can only do one. That's good to know. Okay. Tap that. Draw, play an island. Actually, no, I could have. I forgot. Yeah. I wasn't paying attention, was I? So we can get these out. See, this is fine if I draw 3 cards and one of them is a land. Oh, let's just do it anyway. Yep, so tap all of those. Draw 3 cards. Doesn't look like we're having a problem with lands getting overstocked, and I can also play an additional land. So I think I'll play out my Rogue's Passage. And we also picked up on an Arcanis as well, which is cool. So we would have invested what? 5 mana in that. Arcanis is too much. Okay, so good. Next turn, draw. Doesn't really matter. Just play out that. So now, I mean, I could play out my Experiment Kraj. Yeah, so things are starting to get interesting now. I've obviously been swinging, would have been swinging with these as well. That's at 11, so that's taking it down further. And so on and so forth. So if I have my Kraj out, if each creature has a +1/+1 counter on it. Yep, so replicate over those. And so on. Yeah, now we get to cultivate, so yeah, more land. We get Arcanis out if we want. Protean Hulk or Thornling, all the usual stuff, and so on. So yeah, that's pretty interesting. It's a bit of a slow but sure deck. And of course we can start Actually, what I could have done, I didn't even think of that, is I could have just stripped out most of the counters and popped them across here. So I could have just left like a counter on there just so it's in play, or a couple of counters, and just move them all across. So this will be now a 10-6. So yeah, remember that when this comes into play and you've got these, and yeah, and then I could double the counters, so you'd end up something like this at some point. So, you know, if you set those counters back to say 2, put 6 across on here, so this would have happened when the Kraj came into play. So a lot of this stuff wouldn't have been drawn, but we're not going to do anything with it anyway at this point. And then double these up. So this is now what, 10, 12? Is that right? And then we double them up, double the counters up, so 6. So this now becomes so 12 added to these, so this becomes 16, 18 or something like that. Yeah, so that would now, oops, oh, let's just do that. It's pretty neat in this deck. And of course that does artifacts and creatures and lands, so if you wanted to play around with this deck and there was like certain utility from having counters on other things, then yeah. So yeah, interesting deck. So we'll look at another hand. Okay. Some draws. Yeah. Yep, it's pretty good. I didn't bother to look at the curve, but I don't see any potential problems here. Oh, there's our doubling season. That would just get seriously out of control with that. Some of those other ones. Just, yeah, with that in play. Yeah, it's an interesting commander to play around with. So there we have it. That's my Commander Fodder episode for the Simic Mutology deck. Now, yeah, I was mentioning at the start of the show about slightly changing the format of the deck Durdle and Commander Fodder to aggregate the two into one single video, and then I'll be putting out 2 videos of these types a week, where I'll be doing set musings and then something I'm at the moment just calling the Commander Durdle. That gives me scope. I do need a bit more, because I do all my filming on a Monday for various reasons, because of other stuff that I need to get done in the week, and I would like to just get Monday freed up a little bit more, and so yeah, I've decided to just pull one of the videos for the moment, and then going forward, I've mentioned it before, I'm going to look to doing the odd paper magic video as well. And that'll probably, if that goes out, that would probably go out more at the weekend than anything else. But what I did was I just brought this up. So just so happens that the next set is Cold Snap before we get into the Time Spiral block. So it's an interesting set to run the test on. So this is a card pool of the equivalent of 12 boosters, and I did that using my old go-to for that, which is MT Gen. So I just went in here, just sort of thing to expect. So 12, generate my sets, and then basically just checked. So with this many on a lot of sets, you're going to be sure you're going to get at least one legendary. I mean, obviously there's sets out there where they didn't print a ton of legends, so it's not going to work so well on, say, core sets. But you can see here, just this one, we've got 3 potential legends before we even start going down, and a Dark Depths. So the way I'm going to do it is, if there isn't a legend there, I'll make a decision about how much I want to play a legend from the set. If I do, when I'm putting these together, I'll just regenerate it until I get a legend. So I just want a little bit of variability in the legend, rather than me just choose one from the set, which is another way to do it. Or if I see a juicy rare that I want to build around, then I'll go down that rabbit hole and see what I can do legend wise from that. Anyway, so going back to the card pool, so basically what happens now, when I start the episode, this is what you'll see. It'll be here, and then I'll just prune out everything. So if you haven't used Archidect for EDH, once you sort of whack a commander in place and you make it like an EDH deck, it'll red flag anything there's either too many copies of, so if there's more than one, or it's illegal in some way, and also if it's off colour. So you can see here, that's why it's flagging up some of the blue ones, even though this is because there's 2 copies here. So we'd start off like this. I'd get rid of all of the things that I can't play, so multiple copies and anything that's off colour. So because again I'm playing around a commander, I'm probably going to make a copy of the deck just in case, and then aggressively just remove stuff so I won't drag it out from into the sideboard. And then once I get to that point, that'll be my starting seed. There's a website I want to run as well. I've run before, way back when I was first doing Commander Fodder episodes, where I was using a card pool or using rares instead of a theme deck, or running it alongside, and that gives up suggestions. And what I want to do is run in terms of the utility of the card and cards that have similar effects on them. So I'll probably run the commander through that and just see if there's any support cards that are useful to have that double up the effect of the commander, and make sure they're included in the deck as well. And then at that point you just run the Archidect. Whoops, what did I do there? I didn't want to do that. I wanted to do this. This will probably it'll probably recommend anyway at this point. It's going to recommend some weird stuff because I've got non-commander colour things in there. It does actually allow you to cheat. This one, I think, yeah, doesn't. But anyway, just so I can see here. In a moment it might come up. Sometimes it will do that. It will come up with off-colour stuff, but it looks like actually it is playing to the right colours actually, which is cool. Okay, so that it does do that. I must be thinking of another instance. Maybe if you don't have the commander in place, it might do that actually. Yeah, I think that's what it does. If you can actually run this without the commander there, and it'll come up with suggestions, but it will suggest round the cards that are in here. Okay, so yeah, that's where I'm going, just if you were curious. So that's the equivalent of about, like I say, well, it is the equivalent of 12 boosters. Yeah, hopefully it should be fun. I'm looking forward to doing this sort of thing again, because some of the theme decks got a little bit weird, and I was finding the deck turtle episodes a little bit of a struggle really, with the deck building. So it's good to like combine the two and dial the deck building, the live deck building back a little bit. Obviously, in order to get to the point where I'm seeding it, I will have had to do some degree of pruning, but it's a little easier than doing a full-blown build just on the fly with a set you've probably only just touched that week. So yeah, so it should be fun. Anyway, thanks once again for watching, and bye for now.